Welcome back, friends. You're just in time for the Johnny Brew Show.
What's going on, everybody? My name is John Brookhagen, host of the Johnny Brew Show, and thanks for joining us for quite another episode. Just so you guys know, there's no teleprompter. I have a little bit of notes, not much. So I'm speaking off the cuff, which I say some stupid things sometimes. Without a teleprompter or a script, I'm a lot more prone to do so. So please give me a little bit of patience. I'm not asking you to give me a pass on everything I say. Let's debate. But if I say something silly, for example, last week I said, Linda Cavazos and Lola Brooks are welcome to come on the show, even though I don't like them. That's not what I meant to say. I meant to say I don't like their politics or their policies, because I like everybody. Ask anybody who knows me more than a little bit. I like everybody. I'm willing to help anybody out. And I love to be able to speak to people with differing views. That's why sometimes some people are telling me how much they can't stand Danielle Ford or they hate Sarah Cirillo. And I don't agree with their policies, but they are rational people that are willing to sit down and have a conversation without losing their mind. And to be honest, I was thinking for a while the other side of the political fence was they were all losing their minds. But as this pandemic continues to grow, as our needs for our children continue to be accentuated, we're finding that there are some moderate Democrats. And if they're willing to sit down and talk and try to find a solution that's going to better our community, they're my kind of people, even if they might not be conservative, which I think is common sense, So, again, it's not the whole world. We have these people who were, blood in their eyes for Donald Trump. And now that Trump is gone, while some of the Democratic Party is still holding on and talking about him constantly, there are others who have moved on, as well as moving on from this COVID pandemic. One of the craziest anti-Trumpers was Bill Maher. And he said some really ridiculous things. So I don't want to let him completely off the hook. But at the same time, as we come out of this pandemic, I don't know, for lack of a better term or whatever you want to call it, he's also saying he's over it. All right, now it depends on who the greeter at Walmart is, whether you have to wear a mask or not. It depends on what state you're in, what city you're in, what building you're in, what employee you're interacting with. That's what's determining our COVID situation now. Here's Bill Maher with a little bit of common sense, along with a couple of other Democrat friends. Play tape.
I'm not sure what the latest Dr. Fauci thing was on Halloween. He's changed his mind a lot, but I think it was go and do it. I hope so, because it certainly has been my position since the beginning of this. Just resume living. Come on, the 15 of 100,000, that's where we are cases in California. 15 cases per 100,000 people. I know some people seem to not want to give up on the wonderful pandemic, but you know what? It's over. There's always going to be a variant. You shouldn't have to wear masks. I haven't had a meeting with my staff since March of 2020. Why? I don't know, the state, the corporate, whoever it is, you're being fucking, sorry again.
Why is he apologizing to me?
I know, because you're a senator and you shouldn't hear bad language. I forget. I'm
Never
sorry.
heard that word.
I know. But really, also vaccine, mask, pick one. You got to pick. You can't make me mask if I've had the vaccine.
I have broken up with COVID. It's not working for me anymore. I stayed home the first year. I was a good girlfriend. He was a little abusive. Then I got the vaccine. I walked out of the CVS. I hadn't been that thrilled coming out of a drugstore since I got the birth control pill in 1981. It's like, oh, yeah, I'm back. it was the same thing. I knew it's like, okay, I'm not going to need this every day, but when I do need it, it's on board. And then I barely got there, and it was like, oh, it's Delta. So I can't keep up. And you know what? I have cancer. I'm triple vaxxed. If it gets me, fair play to it, because it will put up a fight against me, but I'm not staying in my house again.
There you go. You're down with that? Because it's the Democrats who seem to be... I mean, I travel in every state now, back on the road, and the red states are a joy, and the blue states are a pain in the ass for no reason.
And that's exactly the point. All right? I know the PAA podcast loves when I delve into these national issues. And it's important because some national issues don't really touch us. But the COVID pandemic, we all know. We've all been affected by it. Whether you forgot a mask in the car or you refused to wear a mask and now you got to get into these stupid arguments. I mean, you're fighting the good fight and I commend you, but it's a lot of freaking energy, right? To have to argue, If anybody's curious about my personal mask wearing, I never wear a mask. Unless I'm in a store and somebody asks nicely, I got one in my back pocket, I'll put it on. And if they don't ask nicely, I walk out. And I would say 60 to 70% of the time, nobody even asks me about a mask. 20% of the time, somebody will ask me to put on a mask nicely. And 5% of the time, increasingly less, if that makes any sense to you. As time goes on, there's less and less, warriors out there demanding that I wear a mask. I haven't walked out of a store because of a mask for about 3 or 4 months. So, I mean, everybody's kind of getting over it. You hear these journalists for The Atlantic or Bill Maher or, Democratic Congress people, they're all laughing about it, agreeing that it don't mean nothing, that we're past it, we're not going home again. And if you're vaccinated and masked, you're kind of, infringing on people. If you're telling them to do one or the other, they're trying to accept it. I, of course, don't think either holds water. And you hear through their cackling, joking about, birth control and stuff, that they're definitely, not conservative, right? But Joe Biden, he's not a conservative either. Here's Joe Biden meeting with, I believe it's the president of Argentina, and just like you and me in normal everyday life, having a conversation with someone in public. And this is how it goes. I don't have it in my pocket right now, but I wear a mask until I have to talk. And as soon as I talk, I pull the mask down because you need to see my lips and you need to see my facial expressions and you need to see me communicate. Which is stupid because when I'm talking, it's probably the time that I should be wearing my mask, because I'll tell you right now, I'm a spitter. When I talk to people, the spit is flying. I mean, I can't help it. I try not to do it, but I spit when I talk. So the whole mask, me wearing a mask is just to pacify people's insecurities. It's not to protect them from my spit, because as soon as I start talking, I have to pull the mask down. A, because I can't breathe, because anybody who knows me, you watching the Johnny Brew Show, I don't freaking shut up. So I'm and I look like such a tool with the stupid mask under my chin. I mean, I'm ugly enough already. Now I look like a tool, always wearing a mask around my chin. The thing is disgusting. And I'm spitting all over you every time I talk to you before I put my mask back on, because I have to turn and walk to the next person before I start spitting on them and talking to them. But I'm not the only one. Here's Joe Biden speaking with the president of Argentina. And just, who cares what they're talking about, all right? I mean, half of it's in Spanish, half of it's in English. The conversation is just any conversation that me and you could be having in person, or any conversation going on in the world. This is how they take place. And notice the people around them, their mask behavior. This conversation is COVID in in October, November 2021 in a nutshell. This is the whole world. This is how we're acting. And we to not see the stupidity is to be ignorant or blind. Play tape.
Fernandez, President of Argentina. Nice to meet you. How are you?
It's great to see you.
I'm a citizen of yours yesterday. Lo sé. Me dicen que ha sido una gran reunión.
I'm told it's been a very good meeting.
Bueno, very good. Bueno, lo celebro, es un gran amigo.
I'm happy to hear that he's a great friend.
Un gusto.
Great to meet you. Realmente es fantástico.
Para mí también conocerlo.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
Como siempre suelo decir yo, creo que me hizo muy feliz su triunfo en
I can tell I was
Estados
so
Unidos.
happy to know you came into office.
Al mundo le hizo mucho bien.
It did the world a whole lot of
You
good.
have such a physically beautiful country.
Y tenemos un país tan hermoso.
Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you so much.
Gracias. Muchas
All right. First of all, Joe Biden ain't drooling or stuttering. He's coherent and having a nice conversation. I think, I don't know how much Spanish Biden speaks. Maybe none at all. But also, do you see the president of Argentina and Joe Biden with the face diaper? That's how I feel. He's the president of the United States, and the president of Argentina has got his chest puffed out, proud, no mask. You see his handlers are playing the field like you do when you go to Walmart, or like I do, trying to see what's going on. A couple of them aren't wearing masks. Biden's got the diaper around his chin. He takes off his mask. Because they're normal people. They are normal people. And they're done with the masks too. And no, I'm not going to die if I wear a mask when I'm speaking, but I'm really uncomfortable. And I'm a mouth breather. Yes, all you Democrats who watch the Johnny Brew Show and you call all us conservatives a mouth breathers, I don't know why that's such a bad thing. I think that's like synonymous with a caveman, but I'm a mouth breather. And it makes it hard when I'm talking and breathing to breathe. I mean, But while, on the same day, I believe, that Joe Biden is acting like a normal person, the citizens of New York City are still in the middle of this. They're up to their necks in COVID restrictions. They're implementing soon that for a 5-year-old to eat at a restaurant in New York City, they're going to have to prove proof of vaccination. It blows my mind. Clark County now pushing it big time. 5 to 11. Get your kids vaccinated right here. And they continue to say there is no risk. There is some risk. How much of a risk? It could be minuscule. It could be somewhat significant. But there is some risk. But they continue to say no risk. And how a 5-year-old can't get into a restaurant in New York City because they didn't get vaccinated. Let me remind you guys. I believe the number is up to about 700. I don't follow the numbers every single day. Maybe I should if I'm going to have a podcast. But it's about 600 or 700 children have passed away with COVID, or anybody under the age of 18. Johns Hopkins University says the number is maybe as low as 10 or less, and the absolute maximum is 20. Children have died without a severe underlying condition, meaning all but 10 of them were children who, have to wear a helmet because they have a debilitating brain injury or disease. Or, all of these children, except for like 10 of them, were not able to even go to school because they are either confined to a wheelchair or confined to some sort of an aid for their disability. And, God bless these suffering children. These are children who were really in not the best of shape at all. Like maybe very well could have passed away, whether they caught COVID or not. And then the dozen children who did not have a debilitating prior problem, almost all of them were 17 or 16 and somewhat overweight. One of them, they said was in perfect health, a 17 and, 10-month-old who was 250, 270, 280 pounds, but he was a football player. And do I consider a football player, even a 300-pound football player, to be healthy? In some regards. But you got to understand that kids in general, a normal child going to school is going to be okay. Meanwhile, this is what's going on in New York City. I have the evidence. Play tape.
We've got now approximately 9,000 city employees on leave without pay today. So let's do it again. 9,000 city employees in leave without pay status at this moment, out of a workforce of almost 400,000. So that's less than 6% of the entire workforce. Now again, every one of those 9,000 is welcome to come back, get vaccinated. We've got about 12,000 who have applied for a religious or medical exemption. That will be worked on over the coming days, and they'll get their answer. Either they get the exemption or they don't, and then they should act accordingly. If they don't get the exemption, come back to work. If they do, then they do. But let's be clear, our agencies, and I want to thank Commissioner Nigro, Commissioner Shea, Commissioner Grayson, and all the agency heads of all the agencies that were part of this mandate. They've done a great job continuing to move things forward, working with their teams, really smart, excellent planning and execution. We know right now, firehouses are open, no firehouse closed, response times normal with fire, EMS, NYPD. Department of Sanitation did a great job. They don't normally pick up trash on Sundays, but they did this Sunday, and they did a great job catching up a big effort yesterday, crews out in full force. This has made a big impact.
All right, and number one, salute to the sanitation workers working on a Sunday. And, that's happening all over the country. You go to a fast food place, there's two people. There's a cook and a register person. You got to wait a little bit longer. It's happening now to the sanitation workers. And what's happening is, first of all, you either have these great kids working at the fast food joints that are really trying hard to do great. And then on the other hand, you have some kids who really don't care at all. And they're rude and mean and, heaven knows if they're, messing with your stuff. But you can't get rid of him. You can't discipline him. You can't do anything because he's the only dude who's willing to work. And I'm finding increasingly it's one or the other. You either get a great kid or you get a kid who's not so great. There were reports following that press conference that there were indeed firehouses that were not operational. To pretend that 9,000 people on unpaid leave and 12,000 who are about to get their exemptions revoked. It's coming in at like 90% revocation, whether you're talking about the military or you're talking about federal or city workers. These religious and medical exemptions are not being accepted. And that blows my mind too. Just the fact that if you say you're a Christian, am I supposed to prove that I go to church every Sunday? Am I supposed to prove that, how do I prove my Christianity to you? That's private. But maybe it really bothers me that aborted fetuses were used in the creation of this vaccine. Maybe it really bothers me that I'm being told to put something into my body when I believe my body is a temple. Maybe I had COVID already and I don't want to get the vaccine because I believe I'm in better shape than if I did get the vaccine. There's people, me personally, I know I'm talking a lot about myself, but I'm just trying to give you some perspective that I'm just a regular dude. Me personally, right? I could be going to the dentist more often and not have such ugly buck teeth. I could go to the doctor, I could go to the cosmetic surgeon and get these things off my eyeballs. But I don't like doctors. I don't go to the doctor. I've been to the doctor, a half dozen times in the past 20 years for a shot of cortisone or for a round of antibiotics, both of which I believe I should be able to go to the pharmacy and just buy myself. But I couldn't, so I had to go to the doctor. And that's it. I don't want to go to the doctor. I don't like to go to the doctor. And, sorry, Dad, knock on wood, I haven't been in a situation where I really, really needed a professional physician's care. Thank you, God. I don't like doctors. I don't get the flu vaccine. I'm not anti-flu vaccine. I think it's kind of silly. I don't get the flu vaccine because I don't want to get a vaccine. I don't want to go to the doctor. I don't want to go to the dentist. I don't want to go to the plastic surgeon. I don't like getting my hair cut. My vaccine hesitancy comes from the same reason you'll see me needing a haircut. Because I don't like to go to the barber. I'm busy. I got things to do. If it's an emergency, I don't like buying cars. I don't buy a car every 2 years. It's the same reason I don't want to get the vaccine. I want to take care of me, and that's my personal choice, and I live in America. That's how I want to live. Some other people want to eat Cheetos and play video games all day. You live in America. Some people want to run for Congress. Some people want to change the world. This is America. And that's why we have people who change the world. And that's why we have people who play video games all day. That's why we have people who got the vaccine the first day it was available. That's why we have people who don't want the vaccine. We have people who believe in God. We have people who don't. We have people who believe in everything and everything, nothing, if you understand what I'm saying. Thank you for listening, though. Please subscribe. We're on YouTube. We're on Rumble. Like the video. Subscribe. Hit the little bell. I think we're going to be going live real soon. Rumble. We're backing up all our videos on Rumble, so that way if anything gets clipped, you go to Rumble, you'll find it no problem. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Overcast. I don't even know the names of half of the platforms we're on. Pocket Casts, Anchor, Facebook. Look up the Johnny Brew Show. The public square for you to share anything and everything is Common Sense Nevada, a tribute to Thomas Paine, the original pamphleteer. And we also have the new CCSD Board of Trustees for 2022 and 2024. We have a great episode about the education and CCSD coming up. So make sure you hit the bell for that. And we'll be talking about the redistricting and all the soap opera continuing to go on there. We may even have some great interviews lined up. All right, you could reach us at the Johnny Brew Show at gmail.com, or you could always text us at 702-501-5304. Finally, I'd like to remind you that Infinity the Math Institute is doing everything you can, whether you're a homeschooler, a government schooler, or something in between with a private school or a charter school. Infinity the Math Institute doesn't give you more math problems, they give you solutions. Yeah, so go to themathinstitute.com or search Infinity the Math Institute on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all that. All right, moving on. One little national topic I'd just like to address. This is a country of immigrants. We love immigrants. We embrace immigrants. All right. On another one of our episodes this weekend, we're going to be hearing from the new Lieutenant Governor of Virginia, an immigrant from Jamaica. Wonderful woman. Served our country in the military, and now she's trying to make a difference as a Republican Lieutenant Governor in Virginia. So, Peter Doocy finally got an opportunity to ask Biden a question, and a week or so ago, we heard that the Department of Justice, headed by Garland, the very moderate, almost Supreme Court Justice, was deciding to settle with families that was separated at the border under the Trump administration for $450,000 per person. family of 3 got broken up while we were discovering whether or not they were actually family, which was going on a lot back then. At least 50%, I believe, was the number. And while we were making sure that they weren't lying, and in more cases than not they were, we decided that because of that week or month that they were separated, we're going to compensate these illegal illegal nomads, $450,000. That family of 3, $1 million plus, for the hardship of being separated for a week or a month because they were trying to enter our country illegally. Let me remind you, a family of 3 who lost their only child in Afghanistan or anywhere else around the world, believing they're defending our country and our way of life, depending on how you look at each individual foreign conflict. If it's ending with that goal is up for debate. But they join the military, they're willing to lay down their life, and some of them do. These families of 3 receive, I believe it's $100,000. There's immigrants coming in here legally. They have to prove that they will not be a financial burden on this country before they are admitted in here legally. Almost 100% of the people crossing our border now will definitely be a drain on our federal monetary system. And they're being allowed in anyway. And now the people who crossed over under the Trump administration are going to get $1 million a family. So Peter Doocy wanted to ask about Biden's opinion on this. Play tape.
Welcome back. Well, President Biden yesterday denied the reporting that his administration is planning to pay illegal migrants separated at the border $450,000 per head. Here's what he said when asked by Peter Doocy of Fox. Watch.
Reports that were surfacing that your administration is planning to pay illegal immigrants who are separated from their families at the border up to $450,000 each, possibly $1 million per family. Do you think that that might incentivize more people to come over illegally?
If you guys keep sending that garbage out, yeah, but it's not true.
So that's all he said. It's not true. But afterwards, ACLU Director Anthony Romero responded to Biden saying, quote, President Biden may not have been fully briefed about the actions of his very own Justice Department. But if he follows through on what he said, the president is abandoning a core campaign promise to do justice for the thousands of separated families.
You know, it's simply crazy that Biden could be so disconnected from what his administration is saying are his thoughts. You could see. I mean, you know, they're going to play the game that it's not $450,000. It's going to be $350,000 or $425,000. You know, you could tell that was not what Biden was doing. Biden was like, what? Who came up with that stupid idea? No, don't be peddling that garbage. Don't be talking about it. That's why people are incentivized, because Fox News is lying when they say we're doing this. But then you see the ACLU is like, nah, don't worry, public. Biden doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. We already got this deal in place. And then, if we were to argue against this, of course, you're a racist. Here's one of the racists in charge, Governor Ron DeSantis. Play tape.
Very, very concerned about reports, I think it was in the Wall Street Journal, that the Biden administration is going to pay with tax dollars hundreds of millions of dollars to people who came to our country illegally across the southern border as, quote, damages. I mean, you think about it, Americans are getting more in their gas bills. They're getting more in their grocery bills. You've had all kinds of really bad policies throughout our country that has limited freedom. and you're going to turn around for that and you're going to do $475,000 for an individual that came illegally to this country. I've seen a lot in my day. I've seen a lot that's happened over the last 9 or 10 months that I didn't think I'd ever see. But this takes the cake. If that is done, that is going to be a slap in the face to every hardworking American who works hard and plays by the rules, and it'll especially be a slap in the face to people that have immigrated legally to this country. That should not be allowed to stand. It's wrong, and whatever we can do in Florida to fight back against it, we will do.
You know, it's really scary. I mean, again, I don't know. If you were a person who wanted to come to this country, would you try to do it legally or would you try to cross the border? And there's a lot of good people in this world. I know some of them that would like to live in America, that live in South America. And none of them would ever do this. Even now, while the border is open, while we're finding out about free flights all around the country to meet up with family and friends, while we find out about reparations if your family was, separated at the border, and as we hear about amnesty in the halls of our government, these good people still won't do it. And I'm talking about doctors and lawyers and educated people. Again, I know personally people who would love the American dream. And they would never, ever do that. They would never come here illegally. So the people who are coming here are not the people that we want. Because they're willing to break the law. They're willing to subvert the very first act they do when they step on our country's soil is break the law by doing exactly that. And they know morally in their heart of hearts it's not right. That's why there's no shuttle buses going back and forth. That's why you got to hoof it. That's why you got to cross a river downstream against the current. That's why you got to walk through a jungle. That's why you got to pay the drug cartels thousands of dollars because it's not right. Because it's not right. That's why they're flying them all over the country in the dead of night or in the early morning before regular people would typically like to take a flight. But we have made a statement. We just had an election in Virginia. Great news. All right, we have some great candidates running here in Nevada and all across the country for 2022. Great news. Parents are waking up and realizing how important your county commissioners and your school trustees are. And that's good. We need to have a wave of not republicanism, not even conservatism, just liberty. People who love each other, people who love freedom, people who want the best for our children, and people who don't take immutable characteristics into account when deciding how to legislate, how to educate, or how to, I'm thinking of something that rhymes with 8. Bake a cake. Thanks so much for joining us. All right, I gave you all our contact information. All right, we're going to have a whole bunch of great episodes coming up. We have a whole bunch of great interviews coming up. So make sure you subscribe. I see you guys. It's like 85% non-subscribers watching, 15% subscribers watching my stuff. Please, that's all I ask. You don't need to buy a product. You don't need to send me money. I just ask, subscribe on the YouTube, subscribe on your favorite podcast outlet. My name is John Brookhagen. This is the Johnny Brew Show. Thank you so much.